Ever feel like politics is just a broken record? Same arguments, same gridlock, year after year. It's frustrating, right? It makes you wonder if anything can ever actually change. But what if I told you the problem isn't just the players, but the game itself? And what if you could spot the candidates who actually want to fix the game, not just win it? Today, we're diving into the Structural Reformers Checklist. This is your guide to telling the difference between a politician who performs for the cameras and one who reforms the system. Let's start with test number 1, the rules of the game test. First, ask, does the candidate support nonpartisan redistricting? Imagine democracy as a circulatory system. Gerrymandering, where politicians draw their own district lines, is like a clogged artery. It stops the flow of new ideas and fair representation. When a candidate insists on drawing their own maps, they're essentially picking their voters instead of letting the voters pick them. A true reformer wants fair maps drawn by an independent commission, so every vote matters equally. Next, in this test, what's their stance on primary reform? In many places, a tiny fraction of highly partisan voters in a primary election decides who even makes it to the general election ballot. This forces candidates to appeal to the most extreme voices, not the entire community. So, look for candidates who support reforms like open primaries, where anyone can vote regardless of party, or ranked choice voting, where you can rank candidates in order of preference. These changes incentivize candidates to build broad coalitions and find common ground instead of just shouting to their base. All right, let's move on to the second part of our checklist, the incentive diagnostic. This is all about following the money and the power. First, you have to follow the bloodline, and by that, I mean the money. Does the candidate champion campaign finance transparency? A major red flag is a candidate who relies heavily on dark money, donations from anonymous sources, or untraceable political action committees, or PACs. When a politician's campaign is funded by secret interests, they often become immunized against the actual needs of their constituents. They're accountable to their hidden donors, not to you. A reformer will push for transparency, so you know exactly who is trying to influence their decisions. Next up in our diagnostic are the legislative vitals. This might sound a bit technical, but it's crucial. Does the candidate advocate for rules that end the legislative graveyard? This is where good bills, even ones with support from both parties, go to die without ever getting a vote. It's a huge source of public frustration. Look for reformers who propose specific changes. Are they talking about reforming the filibuster to prevent a single senator from blocking everything? Do they want to empower committee chairs from both parties, not just the majority? Do they support rules that require a public vote on bills that have broad bipartisan sponsorship. These are the kinds of structural fixes that can break the gridlock and get government working again. A performer will just blame the other side for the gridlock. A reformer will try to fix the rules that cause it. Now for our third and final assessment, the tone and treatment assessment. This is about how a candidate talks and acts. It reveals their fundamental approach to governing. First, apply the dehumanization check. Listen very carefully to how they describe the other side. Is their criticism focused on policy or on people? A healthy political debate is when they argue against a specific policy, explaining why they think it's a bad idea. A toxic approach is when they attack the humanity, the intelligence, or the patriotism of the people who support that policy. When a candidate calls their opponents evil, stupid, or un-American, they're not trying to solve a problem. They're trying to stoke division for their own gain. A reformer respects that people can disagree on policy while still being good people. Next, there's the credit-sharing factor. This is a simple but powerful test. Can the candidate name even one time they worked with the opposing party to achieve a real, tangible result? Think about it. If they see a win for the country as a loss for their personal brand or their party, they are a major contributor to the stagnation we all hate. Politics shouldn't be a zero-sum game. A reformer understands that compromise isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of a functioning democracy. They're willing to share the credit to get something done for the people they represent, rather than just scoring political points. So, let us summarize what we've learned by comparing these two types of politicians. The performer has a partisan focus. Their main goal is to create viral soundbites for social media and fundraising emails. They want to get you angry and get you to share their content. Their strategy is to constantly attack the other side to mobilize their base through fear. To them, compromise is weakness or even betrayal. They'd rather have a fight they can fundraise off of than a solution they have to share credit for. And their focus is almost always on national culture war issues, even if they're a local official with no power to change them. It's all about the show. Their goal is very different: to pass legislation that works and that lasts even beyond the next election cycle. Their strategy isn't to attack people, but to propose changes to how the government itself works to reduce friction and dysfunction. For a reformer, compromise isn't weakness. It's like surgical precision. It's about getting the best possible result in a complex situation. And their focus is on the real, often unglamorous issues they can actually influence, like infrastructure, the national debt, and the integrity of our elections. They're here to fix the plumbing, not just complain about the leak. So, here is the doctor's final tip. This is the one question that cuts through all the noise. The next time you're at a town hall or reading a candidate's website, ask yourself this. Listen carefully to their answer. If they answer with a who, for example, the system is broken because the other party is the problem, you've got a performer. They're defining the problem as a person or a group of people. But if they answer with a how, for example, the system is broken because of how we fund campaigns, or because of how we draw our legislative districts, then you have found a reformer. They are defining the problem as a broken process, a flawed rule, a bad incentive. And those are the people who might just be able to fix it. Finding a reformer isn't about left versus right. It's about substance versus style. It's about choosing leaders who want to build a better system for everyone, not just win the next news cycle. The future of our democracy might just depend on our ability to tell the difference. Thanks so much for watching. If this checklist was helpful, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us create more content like this and grow our community of informed citizens. We'll see you in the next video.